Hi, this is Sue with Creations by Sue, and today I'm going to demonstrate how to do a flag patch on the Redline 1501. So let's get started. So the first thing I need to do is load the design onto my machine from the USB. So I'll press the USB icon, and there is the flag. So I press the flag and press this little flower with the arrow. And flag is the pattern name that I want, so I'll press OK for that, or the check mark to put that in like that. And it's all set to go, so then I'll exit this screen by pressing this bottom box with the arrow looking almost like a little book. All right, and then to set the colors, I'm going to go to screen number 3. And the first color I want to be black, which I know is number 9 on my machine. That's going to be the outline stitch. The second color is also going to be black. The third color is white. Fourth color is going to be red, which is number 1 on my machine, which is already set, so I can go ahead and scoot forward by pressing this arrow. Fifth color is going to be a blue royal, which is actually going to be spool number 13 on my machine. Even though it's showing brown here, that is going to be blue. I'll go ahead and change that to blue in my colors so that it's not confusing. Press number 13, press the blue, check mark, and we're good there. All right, number 6 is going to be white again, and then number 7 is going to be black. So go down to number 7, put in black, and that will be great. The white in number 6 is the stars, and the blue in number 5 is the background behind the stars. All right, and one thing I forgot to do, I want the frame to move forward automatically after number 1. Because that is the outline stitch, number 1 is. So I will use the arrows and go back up to the number 2 stitch, and I will set a stop there. And in order to set a stop, I'll just press this button, and now there's a stop set. So what'll happen is it'll stop and the frame will push out so that I can put my piece of black canvas, which is this. I've already cut that to the flag size, which is 2 7/8 by, or 3 7/8 by 2 1/4. So that should fit right into the outline nicely. And I'm using this frame with Sulky water soluble. It's a fabric type of water soluble. And I'm using a double layer to stitch this onto so that when it's done, it's easy to remove that stabilizer from around the edges and it won't show at all. All right, the first thing I'll do is stitch out that outline stitch. And before I can do that, I need to make sure that my flag pattern is going to stitch within the hoop. I go to screen number 4 to get to that place where I can check this. Going to go to this icon right below the scissors and press on that. And right now I have hoop B in, but I need this. I think it's the 15 centimeter. It's this one, I believe. Hoop D. Press check and then check again so that it will kind of set it up, and we'll see here. It's showing that it fits on the screen, but I need to do a trace to make sure it fits. So to do that, I will be pressing this icon right here with the circle and the needle. And I'll show you what happens when I press that with the needle and the hoop. All right, I'm going to press that, and we can watch. I'll put a finger on this to bring it down a little bit. And I made sure that I'm on needle number 1 for this trace. I watch the needle, but if I can see through, I also watch this bobbin opening, which is a really nice way to gauge if your design is going to stitch within the hoop also. But that's not always possible because you can't always see through your stabilizer. And that looked really good. I do want to move the design down a little bit though, so I'm going to do that. Whoops. move it to the middle a little bit more, and I'm going to do another trace. So far it looks really good. And that looks good. When I move the design up and down for it to be moved that way, I push this arrow. For it to be moved that way, I push this arrow. And if you want to go side to side, same thing. You're going to push this arrow for it to go that way and that arrow for that way. And also, I'm going to exit the screen because I want to show you to get to needle number 1 for the trace. Pressing these 3 needles, it takes you to this screen. And then I pressed needle number 1 and it takes me to needle number 1. And these are the numbers of all your needles, so you can take it to any needle you would like it to go to. Press exit, and now I will press this icon and the flag shows up. I have it on this A, which it'll stop at each stitch step. If you wanted to go through the whole design, then you would go to this one with an arrow going to the right and an arrow going up and down. And I probably will leave it here so that it'll just stitch through the whole design because I know it's going to stop where I need it to, where I set that stop point. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stitch out the design. And what I'm going to show you is once it stitches that frame, I'll show you what I do to put the canvas on. Here goes the first stitch. And that is one of my favorite features of the Redline, is that when I set that stop, it also has the machine push the frame out, so it's really easy for me to access the area, so I can easily put this canvas on that placement stitch. What I'm going to do first is spray it with E2000, KK2000 spray, and then I'll lay it on there, and that spray will help it to stick to the stabilizer better. So there it is, all set to go, and I'll press start again. And now it's just stitching down a stitch to hold it in place. It's held in place now really well, and I will go ahead and have this stitch out, and then I will show you the final product. Here is the design finished stitching, and one thing I want to point out to you is right here you can see a little red thread underneath that white star. I had accidentally assigned the red thread to start stitching those stars, and when I caught it I decided to just go over it with white because the whole thing hadn't stitched out, and I thought if I tried to rip out the red I might throw the design off a little bit because I might inadvertently move the stabilizer a little bit as I was working on the ripping out part, but that was a mistake because you can see some of that red through the white. So lesson learned, if that happened again, I would rip out as much red as I could before I stitched the white onto it, being really careful to try not to move the design within the hoop. And otherwise it looks good. And what I'm going to do is do a little hand stitching and try to cover that with some white thread that way. But what I'll do next with this is remove it from the hoop, cut off the stabilizer as close to the design as possible, which isn't super important because I am going to take some water, wet the edges with a Q-tip to dissolve the rest of the stabilizer. And then I'll use, once that's dry, I'll use a soldering tool to burn off these extra threads. And then on the back, I plan to iron on some Heat and Bond Ultra. And I also am hoping to stitch this onto a cap. So if I am able to do that, I will video that so you can see that in action. Thank you for watching, and please give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this video, and be sure to press subscribe to be notified of future videos. Happy stitching! Bye!